Awesome. I think we should move to another topic as well. And you started speaking a bit about, the way we do education today in universities, and then, you do something when you start working. And would you say there is a disconnect today in that? Or?
Well, it's been some time since I had the opportunity to attend the university, quite 2 decades. But from what I understand, there's a misalignment between what new students, junior people coming out of university believe they will be working with when they come to a company. Well, it's like every business thing. It's a matter of managing expectations. Yeah. So in this sense, if you are trained as a data scientist and you have to parse XML or PDFs, for God's sake, instead of doing cool modeling.
You really hate PDFs, so that's interesting. Yeah.
Sometimes I read PDFs. It's a good medium for that. But still, so I mean, there's
So people start coming up from university now, and they are actually studying machine learning. But the reality is that 90% of companies still works in Excel and Power BI or whatever.
And I think this is not only a case for machine learning. I think it's a case for software engineering in general. Maybe things has gotten better in the past couple of years or 20 years or so. But when I studied computer science, we did some things. And when I came to work for companies, the process of working was something that we hadn't touched upon, like project management or working in agile environments and doing things. And the definition of done, again, it's the second time I mentioned it. But, knowing when you're done and move on and, realizing the value you have and doing that on the scale. And I think this might also go back to the fact that academics and academic research is concerned with things with a certain point in time. They're not really concerned with doing this over and over for a period of time. Be it like developing or deploying a model for text classification or doing software development. So there's a disconnect, I would say, and I'm not sure who should have the responsibility to make this alignment, or if it's even a problem. I'm not sure.
Do you think AI education is different from other type of education, like normal software engineering education?
Yes, maybe, because it's moving so fast. So I think it's the choice that the people educating has to make, is whether to do the fundamentals, which hasn't changed that much, or do something about the state of the art.
And also, I think AI, one of the things we're trying to promote a bit in the Swedish AI agenda and others is that we want AI understanding, which is different from being able to develop AI and use AI. So having an understanding is something, and I hope you agree, that we should try to bring into any kind of sector, right?
It's expectation management again, I would say.
So how should that happen? And if we think about education, we have universities and we have this kind of crammed, educational programs today where you spend 2, 3, 5, 10 years, and if you do PhD or whatnot in learning something, and then you just jump into industry and start working, and then it's a big disconnect, as you say. What do you think the solution should be? Should it be that we
continuous learning? I would say. I mean. I think the past year for something has been evidently people have to change.
There's going to be a new educational system where we have adult learning forever.
Yes, I mean look at the retirement age. It's been pushing forward. Is it 67 now or something?
Yeah.
And then you start learn something when you're 20, and then you stop learning when you're 24, and then you work with it. But things are going to change. I mean, we touched upon ML ops or AI ops and data ops and different kinds of titles for jobs that didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. So people, I think, the continuous or rather acknowledge that people have to be reskilled.
Because that's touching on the job market problem and the whole transformation of the job market.
But before, I want to test another problem on the university. What's the disconnect between university and how it really works? So here we said, like, within your field, you think you're going to do ML and you do Excel parsing. Okay, one example, yeah. I think there is another almost bigger problem, is that in reality, to make data and AI work, are like this, the real data-driven systems that is actually used and augmented in core processes. It's quite clear this is a cross-disciplinary team play.
Yes.
So you need to have an AI process or data science process work together with the data and MLOps engineering process working together with the data ops process, working together with the cloud architecture of infra team, tech side, data governance. I need to be able to use this data, and then I move over to legal, commercialization, go to market, and by the way, this is the business domain we're in. So in reality now, this is the cross-disciplinary team play from hell. But in university, we still stick in our siloed departments, and in a siloed learns what is world-class data science process, which is good, but it doesn't prepare you for doing data science as part of how do my artifacts fit into the use case life cycle with all the other disciplines. And we don't even train that.
I think sort of fact telling that this is a problem is that there's a market for educators.
Right.
Udemy,
this is what I do as a business.
Yeah. So I've taken lots of these courses myself for doing stuff. How does this work? How's and take some course, and they make me feel really smart because I'm just scratching the surface, and we should do it in 2 weeks. It says, and I do it in 3 days, and I feel smart. But of course, that's the way they're selling things like this. So there's a market for it. There's a need for it. And perhaps it's fine like that. But then again,
but the university has not prepared you to work in a cross-disciplinary setting enough.
No,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but actually, you turn it around. Could they actually do it?
Have you heard about the AI Competence for Sweden kind of initiative that is being tried at least?
I think so.
So I can just briefly say, it's an initiative where we basically give funding for universities to target education to industry, not only to students. And I think that's a really good initiative. Yeah. And then you have to really change how you do education. You can't have like 2-year programs anymore. You have to have crash courses or very much different type of education. It has had its challenges, so to speak, in being able to transform the universities to do that. But I think the intention is good. For GDPR.
But I think this can definitely be done. I'm from Borås, grew up in Borås, and Borås Högskola, this is in, they made a name for themselves, and they were competing with Ekonom Handels Göteborg. This is in the 90s.
Around the time when Borås Energi were around.
But Borås Högskola really grew up and is quite good and big. But it's around 2000, right? I have friends, like best friends, they decided to go to Borås Högskola. Why? Because they could have a combined bachelor in economics and computer science. So what happens if we start looking at the career, how you build a bachelor, a master of marketing and data science? I think it's completely possible if you're innovative in how you want to define a curricula. Yeah. It's not going to work if you are back in your academic silos and but I think it can be done.
Yeah.
So if you were to be deciding, in 5 years how academic or university education would look like, do you have any the simple question, to end the whole topic?
The simple question, I would start by trying to find some metrics and measure things that are not correct, and then I will, iterate on it.
Good. That's a data-driven approach.
It's a political answer to.
No, but it's
good.
But maybe we need data-driven approaches more in university.
Yeah. So we actually, I have to mention.
Kill the dogma, right?
We did a small project a couple of years ago. DIVA, the big database with thesis work from most of the Swedish universities, not all of them. I downloaded and scraped 55,000 PDFs, mind you, of thesis
Is this
work.
legal to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
or at least I found a way through their API and I could do it. And I've spoken to them about it, so they're cool. So I got this 55,000 PDFs. I extracted the text and the metadata and counted stuff, and it's a 20-year period. So the initial idea, we didn't have the time to realize this, but the initial idea was to compare the course catalogs from the different universities with what the people actually wrote about.
Interesting.
So you could see the connection there. And there's also a metadata field sometimes talking about whether it's a company that has sort of ordered this thesis work, commissioned the thesis work. So in this data set, you could actually see by language what are people from civil engineering at KTH actually doing in 2004. When they started in 1999, for instance.
Super really interesting.
Cool.
So we have the data set. We haven't been able to publish the paper yet, but there's.
But you would expect that there is a disconnect between what they do in thesis projects and what they are actually educated to do, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
but the data-driven approach to prove, and it's not a bad idea. I don't know how to do it, but more metrics.
I mean, I think we can learn so much from the tech companies that we do have.
Yes,
some A/B testing going on here.
Yeah. But I think, again, coming back to data, the problem is data and getting the data and GDPR, as you mentioned.
So let's go here now. Please, let's go here now.
So
GDPR.